Hello again. Today, let's have a look at what's called the intellectual side triads. I've added captioning as well. I thought it might be helpful for you. I hope it is. So, these are the intellectual side triads: Bina, Tiferet, Gevura, and Tiferet, Chochmah, Hesed. Now, my teacher, Warren Kenton, Zev Ben Shimon and Halevi, always spoke of them as being philosophy and religion. But I think it's probably clearer, though very simplistic. Always I teach in simplistic, very Turian practical terms. And of course, there's always a disclaimer that I can only teach from my knowledge. You may have different knowledge, and it's perfectly fair to disagree with me or even not to believe a word I say. The important thing is, if this helps you, that's great. If it doesn't help you, then you know to move on to something that will. Anyway, for me, this side is basically what we don't believe, what we think shouldn't happen. There's quite a lot of shoulds in these side triads. That's the unhelpful aspect of them. But when they're clear, they're magnificent. So this is what should not be done, in your opinion and your belief. And this is what should be done, in your opinion and your belief. Now, these two triads are led by Chochmah, which is inspiration or wisdom, and Binah, which is understanding or boundaries. And when they work together, they are magnificently beautiful because they will hold the paradox of yes and no, the paradox of right and wrong, the paradox of this is a good thing or this is a bad thing. And the prophet must always be able to hold the paradox. When I say prophet, I mean the person who is trying to work to meld the upper worlds with the lower worlds, to work in service to help God behold God. A prophet is not somebody who predicts the future. The prophets lament. The prophets weep throughout the Hebrew Testament, and the prophets teach of God's forgiveness for all. Forgiveness for all. Now, if you're a prophet or you want to be a prophet, a spiritual worker, you have to be able to hold that paradox. You're not going to default over to this side, as in this is wrong, that's wrong. You're all sheep. You're all not stupid. You're dumb. You're not believing the right things. And this side, which is I've got the right information, I'm the only one who's right, my view is the only one, because this is the view of the fundamentalist. And this world has far too many fundamentalists as it is. If these two work together, they'll say, on the one hand, this is true, and on the other hand, this is true. And both these triads pierce Tiferet. So whatever you've been trained to believe, and we're all trained to believe according to our tribe and our upbringing and our lifestyle, and what you've come to believe from spirit will come down into Tiferet. They pierce the soul and they come to Tiferet, for Tiferet to present them to Hesed for love and Gevura for discernment. So it's really, really important for the Kabbalists to understand that black and white views are not prophetic. You can hold the black and white. You don't make grey. That's important. Grey is just sort of avoiding the subject, if you like. But it's saying there are two sides of the story. And by holding them in the middle at Tiferet, you create Trinity, the law of three. And if you can hold those and weep over them or hold the pain of them, then by the rule of the law of three, according to Gurdjieff, Cynthia Bourgeot is wonderful on this, then you create the opportunity for the birth of the new. This is metanoia, thinking anew. So these side triads are incredibly important in Kabbalah, and I don't think they're taught often enough. Now, wisdom here is the result of all the accumulation of this side of the tree blended with all the accumulation of this side of the tree. And understanding is similar. Understanding takes hold of inspiration and transforms it into wisdom. Because inspiration without balance, if you've got blocks in your soul or your side triads, inspiration is going to go straight down to Hesed instead of to Tiferet and go, yes, this is right, we're going to do it. And there's going to be no consideration of what damage that might cause. Don't ever think that Berea, the spiritual world, is all good. It isn't. You have to hold spirit in these two aspects, because there's cosmic good and there's cosmic evil in Berea. Cosmic evil is just destruction. Cosmic good is basically just the building up. And the human has to balance these in the Yetziratic world while breathing in spirit. So that's a short introduction to the side triads. You can tell how yours are wired through your astrology. This is your placing of Saturn in your chart. This is the placing of Uranus in your chart. And remember, Uranus is the Aquarian ruled planet of chaos. So inspiration without understanding, without boundaries, without consideration, in fact, without contemplation. That's the deep, deep secret to accessing these triads, she says, stopping her ladder from going backwards and forwards. Contemplation is when you take the truths of both sides, of all the aspects, into the heart, into the soul, and sit with them. Sit with the pain of them, the joy of them, and the grief of them, and allow that to be until a new impulse arises. This is what we have to do in prophets in the model world. And no, I'm not a prophet, but I try, and I would very much like to become one. Thank you for listening.